Well, here's my latest update and speculations about the experiment that I have begun to conduct, in the sense that I've begun to assemble the various parts. So I have the two carbon brush toy motors, DC motors, attached to one to the two terminals of the line, the input, and another to the two terminals to the load, the output, of an AC electromechanical watt-hour meter from 1910, the I-10 from General Electric. It has a 5 to 10 ampere range, and its range of voltage is 106 to 111 volts. AC 60 cycles it's rated for. It's fully operational in its capacity. It's not damaged or anything. It's not missing any parts. And a correction to prior podcasts, the little eye-hook eyelet, the eyelet for attaching what appears to be a grounding wire, is not on the back piece. It's not on the cast iron back piece. It's on the aluminum barrel-shaped sheath that screws into the front end of the back piece, covering the register, the brass geared register, and also it surrounds that, and it surrounds the spinning perforated aluminum disc, whose spindle is made of brass and set in a jewel bearing for frictionless rotation. I forget the jewel that they use. It might be emerald, I'm guessing. I don't know. I can't remember. Anywho, so I got this inspiration this morning. I'm going to go inspect it. It was assembled, I think, 2 days ago. I don't know if I'm going to go today or not. But I thought I'd make this recording while I had the thought, because if I don't, I'll forget everything I think. So my next step when I go in there will be to, I have various options. I can either wrap iron wire around the back piece of the meter and then run it run it to each of the toy motors and wrap it around those, to create a magnetic linkage between the chassis of the back piece and the chassis of the motors. Or I could run a grounding wire from the little eyelet on the aluminum front barrel-shaped front piece. And I was going to run it to my car. I have my car parked in the storage there, my dead electric car, my RAV4 EV from 2002. And it has a lot of iron in the chassis and whatnot. It's not like a modern car made with aluminum. And so I always thought it was ideal to hold on to it because of that fact, because of what we know of William Line quoting Nikola Tesla, stating that for every 200 pounds of iron added to his special generator, 1 horsepower was increased at the output. So it came to me what that means, because I asked on Quora for electrical engineers to tell me, well, what would that mean from your standpoint? And they said absolutely nothing. And I realize now why they came up to that expression is because they and I were not including our environment. When you consider the magnetic field of the Earth, and that iron works based on mass while aluminum works based on surface area, because it's more of a capacitive functionality to the element of aluminum, while the functionality of iron has nothing to do with surface area, because it's more inductive oriented, because it retains magnetism, the memory of magnetism. It internalizes it, and so it's useful for the cores, materials of transformers for that reason, to go into the interior of coils to serve as the object around which the coil is wound. So in the case of iron, it's the mass that matters, not the surface area. And so it matters from the standpoint of a coil because the coil is creating magnetism. Well, the Earth does too. And so when we have a mass of iron, it's in the Earth's magnetic field interacting with the Earth's magnetic field. And who knows what goes on. I don't... See, now, the Earth's magnetic field is not something we can control or predict what it'll be. You know, obviously it'll be different in different areas of the planet. So to make a blanket statement, 200 pounds of iron equals 1 horsepower added to the output of a special generator, that signifies what? See, now that doesn't tell us area, because if it were area, no. Iron congregates magnetism. So the more iron you have, the more congregation you would have. So it has nothing to do with surface area. That's right. It has to do with the mass of the iron. So the more iron you have, the more it will concentrate the Earth's magnetic field to interact with, by way of magnetic coupling, to whatever part of the circuit it's coupled to, magnetically coupled to. And why would that increase horsepower, though? I don't know. But I think that's what it is. That's the way we need to analyze that statement of Nikola Tesla that William Line alleges he said. So what I'm going to do now, instead of what I thought I was going to do, I'm going to connect my car. I'm going to use it as common ground or as a capacitive extended plate, or however you want to think of it, except it's made of iron. A lot of it's iron. So I'm going to have to find probably an eyelet down on the chassis where you normally hook up your car to have it towed. The chassis is probably iron. I have a grounding strap already attached, but I'm not going to attach to that. I'm going to attach to what the grounding strap is attached to. And I'm going to run iron wire, magnetizable iron wire, to there from one of the 4 terminals, probably one of the 2 load terminals, the output terminals of the AC meter. My thinking being that if I run a single wire, not more than one connection, it'll be longitudinal, electrostatic connection, and so it won't involve current. And yet, the screw, see, the 4 screws on the 4 terminals of the AC meter are magnetizable iron. I know this because the screwdriver I bought from the hardware store to help me open up and retighten those screws to make my nice firm 4 connections to the 4 terminals of the 2 toy motors, I found that the screwdriver is magnetized, and they sell it that way. And I forgot that's what they do when they manufacture screwdrivers. They magnetize them slightly so that it'll hold the screw at the tip of your screwdriver. It'll hold it in place. So that means it's either a south pole or a north pole down at the tip of the screwdriver. This is a standard screwdriver, not a Phillips, because that's what the screws require, the tightening screws on those 4 terminals of the AC meter. So when I discovered it had a slight attachment quality, it wanted to attach itself to the head of the screw that I was unfastening to make my wire connections. Now it inspired me just now to think, well, you know what? That means it's possible that I could run an iron wire to one of those terminals, and it might be significant, rather than trying to, See, I was hoping the eyelet was on the back piece, but it's not. It's on the aluminum sheath, and that's not going to do me any good. I mean, it's fine for grounding purposes, but I want to connect the iron of the AC meter to some other larger iron mass to increase the iron mass of the mirror, because they put a back plate in there, okay, made out of cast iron. And you don't find that on later models, like in 1935. It just goes away. And the aluminum on the front goes away too and is replaced by glass. So they scaled it down, taking away characteristics that could be over unity contributors to this I-10 meter, namely a quantity of aluminum that's in addition to the disc, a quantity of iron that's in addition to the toroidal core, the stator core. So it's like, here we got this extra iron, extra aluminum. There must have been a reason why they put them in there. And I want to take advantage of it. So I'm going to see if I can use one terminal, the part of the circuit, rather than the chassis, because there's nothing on the backside to connect to. I'm going to look again, but I don't think there is. Actually, no, there is. There's a hook on the back so that you can hang it on a nail, hammered into your wall. So that actually would be a possible connection point for the back piece. I should try that first, and then see about switching to one of the terminals afterwards if nothing interesting happens. Excuse me for coughing into the microphone. But it does have to be a single wire connection in either case, because the eddy currents set up should not be encouraged to flow to and fro the device. That's not the purpose of this connection. The purpose is simply to magnetically couple to an iron mass. I think. I could be wrong. Maybe it does require two connections. I don't know, but I'm going to start with one and take it from there, because I'm afraid of the electricity of the device leaking out into the iron mass. Why should I care, I don't know. Actually, iron has a tremendous amount of hysteresis, and it's also got 6 times more resistance than copper. So maybe it does have to be two connections, not one. In any case, whether the circuit is connected or whether the back piece is connected, which is part of the chassis, basically, electrically speaking. If I make two connections to the terminals, it'll be in parallel. So it'll be in addition to one of the toy motors, either the load or the line. I would imagine the load side would be the side to use, but I could be wrong. That's another thing. Maybe which side? Or do I cross them? Well, that would be shorting it out. Yeah, if I wired one to the load and one terminal to... oh, God, this is getting confusing. Well, there are numerous possibilities, and I'm supposed to exhaust all of them until I hit pay dirt. That's the whole point of trial and error. So I guess I had to say that, right? Put it on record that I could be wrong in assuming that I know what to assume. Yeah, you can't, when you're dealing with something like this that nobody knows anything about, you can't assume anything. I mean, you can assume for the purposes of experimentation what you want to do, but that's only in a generic sense. When it comes down to the particulars, you have to assume anything. Any variation of the parameters that you've chosen to use may be required to get the job done. And there's no other way to confront this situation because, we're clueless. We don't know what we're doing. I certainly don't. And I can't assume that it would be right of me to assume anything because logic doesn't mean a damn. You'd have to be Tesla to use logic because only Tesla, because he had intuition too, see? So he wasn't just dependent on logic alone like maybe modern-day electrical engineers are dependent on, especially technicians in the field. Oh, some of them, we don't know who they are. They may be intuitive, but to restrict ourselves to logic alone, especially if we're formally trained or brainwashed, if you prefer, to exclude intuition from your job, then it's our loss. And it's commerce's gain, I guess, to keep us quagmired in commerce and not make any progress. as if to say making a buck is equivalent to saying maintaining the status quo and vice versa. Then we're not evolving. And the money is going around the planet, but we're not developing in our understanding of the subject matter. Anyway, so those are my thoughts this morning, and it gives me a range of possibilities of variations to try. My fantasy is that the thing is running already, right? It's picked up background voltage, microvoltage from the environment, and the reaction that it has is so highly efficient that the reactance has accumulated, and now it's running under its own power. Wouldn't that be nice? Surprise! Before I even get to do anything with the circuit, because I just figured I did the base assemblage and not enough in addition there too to get it to run. I'm certainly not going to do one way to actually, without having to add anything. It's good I'm making this recording. I was thinking of a whipcord is one way to get it started, and of course I wasn't going to consider that because I didn't think I could do it. I thought I'd have to run a charge temporarily to the unit to get it run, and then just connect the charge to see if it would keep running, and not use batteries, but use the solar panels. Use what I have, basically. But now I'm thinking, wait a minute, I could just spin the damn thing. One of the axles of one of the toy motors, or not one of it only has one, the axle of one of the toy motors with my fingers to get it moving, and see if I can do something, or maybe spin both at the same time. That require my holding down the toy motors somehow. I guess, I'll tape them down to my makeshift bench. It's a plastic 5-gallon bucket with a plastic lid over the top. I could tape it down and then use my fingers to turn the axles of both toy motors, either one way orientation or reverse the other one of the two, in case it's important, the alignment or cross alignment, cross spinning, who knows which way they want to spin if this thing will work. I didn't think of that. That would be the easiest thing in the world. I wouldn't have to make any changes. Just spin the motors and see if they get going on that alone. Okay, so now I think I've covered everything. So this is exciting. This gives me something to feel good about, so that I don't have to feel glum about my existence. I'm actually doing something entertaining. I don't get to watch TV, or anyway, enough complaining. So there you are.